Scott Wilson, one of my closest friends from back in his time in Lynchburg, and I discuss March Madness. We used to be big March Madness fans. We still like it, but we've had priorities change with children coming into our lives, both of us girl dads, and we talked about some underrated March Madness buzzer beaters. It seems appropriate on the night of the first four when Alabama State's game went down to the buzzer. Well, now Scott and I are going to talk about the most underrated buzzer beaters. You're not going to see a Lorenzo Charles here. You're not going to see Bryce Drew, but Scott and I will both give you our top 5 most underrated buzzer beaters here on the Sports Buffet. Talking to my good friend Scott Wilson, we used to do golf talk. We could actually do girl dads talk now too, which is a segment that I've started. But right now we're going to talk about forgotten NCAA tournament buzzer beaters. So I'll probably say what both of us think of as ones that we wouldn't put on the list. Lorenzo Charles against Houston.
Yep.
I would say Bryce Drew against Ole Miss.
Christian Laettner.
Against Kentucky, yeah. And I would probably say, even though I don't watch as much basketball as I used to, probably Chris Jenkins against UNC because it won a national title. Anything else that I'm missing is just flat obvious?
Those are the 4 that popped in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we did is we each ranked our top 5 buzzer beaters that are not as memorable. You also have an honorable mention. Do you want to go with the honorable mention first?
Sure. My honorable mention is best buzzer beater in the loft, which may sound weird, but 2005 had an amazing regional final weekend. Like, all the games were awesome. I think there was combined like 4 overtimes. We had a big Illinois comeback against Arizona at the end. But the best game was Kentucky against Michigan State. And at the end of regulation, there was a very memorable shot by Patrick Sparks of Kentucky. It was like a mad scramble, a 3-pointer. The ball went way out, and he ended up foot barely over the line, made a 3, like rattled around and in. Very memorable shot. Forced overtime. Unfortunately for Kentucky, they lost in double overtime. But that was a shot that I've always remembered, and so I wanted to throw that in there, even though they lost.
Now, I mean, the buzzer beater doesn't have to be they won. Our requirement, by the way, that I told you, I think, is it has to be a buzzer beater, in my opinion, is 2 seconds or less. So if a team hits a 3 or 2 with like 1 second left, to me that could count. But I think all of mine are actually full buzzer beaters. How much prep did you have to do to go back and watch old buzzer beaters? Because I'll be honest, I had to do quite a bit of that.
I did a little bit, but there's so many out there that there's some that are missing. I just tried to think of ones that stuck out in my memory without having to do a lot of research, but I did do a little bit.
So what we'll do is we'll each kind of give our number 5, and we'll talk about it. We'll give our number 4, talk about it. Number 3, talk about it. Number 2, talk about it. Number 1. So what did you have as your number 5?
Number 5. So I wanted to put one in there with your friend Timmy B on the call.
Okay.
Tim Brando for the layperson. But I think my favorite one of his was, and this is the only one that I have that's the first round game, but this was Western Kentucky and Drake in 2008.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What was kind of remarkable about this game is the final score was 101-99, which you don't see very often. It was in overtime. Ty Rogers for Western Kentucky hits the 3 at the buzzer for the win. And it was, as I remember, it's a pretty long 3 as well. I can picture it in my head. It was now, Timmy B and G-Man.
Full disclosure, we used to watch the tournament on one of the first 2 days together because we lived about 10 minutes away from each other. I want to say, I think that might have been the time frame. I'm not sure, but I remember of that buzzer beater, but I don't remember it vividly. Number 5.
That would have been my first full year in Lynchburg, so it could have been. Yeah.
Number 5, I go back to 02-03, the first round. Maryland had won the Natty the year before, and Drew Nicholas bailed them out against UNC Wilmington.
who, if I'm not mistaken, was coached by Jerry Wainwright at the time. And
Okay.
Maryland went on to lose to Michigan State in the Sweet 16, but that still was a pretty good Maryland team. I know they lost a lot of firepower from the national championship, but I kind of remember that buzzer beater, but I don't think it gets as much love across the board. But, I mean, Drew Nicholas, they ended up losing to Michigan State that year in the Sweet 16. But Drew Nicholas, I think, was a better player than what most people give credit for as well.
Yeah. So I know that they lost to Michigan State on a buzzer beater. Was that year too, or was that a different year?
It might have been a different year. I think they got beat by Michigan State by like about 8 or 6.
I think it was Lucius Harris for Michigan State, so I think he might have been later on.
Because, if I'm not mistaken, Maryland was a 6 when they beat Wilmington. And I want to say Michigan State was a 7 and had like beaten Florida. Or maybe I forget. They were in that 7-10, and I think they ended up beating Florida. It may have been the same year. I don't think it was. But I can't fully – I didn't do it that much research, so congratulations. You stumped the Bob on that one. I'll start with my number 4, then you can go.
One thing I was just going to add to yours,
please.
Is that both of those schools would have won national championships in the previous, 4 years. Makes it more interesting.
Maryland and Michigan State, not Wilmington.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and Wilmington was not – Wilmington, if I remember correctly, was kind of a trendy pick in the first round that year a little bit as well, but I also know where we live. So anyway, I go back to number 4, and I go back to, I want to say it's 1989, 1990. Tate George from UConn, buzzer beater over Clemson. UConn, I think, was the number 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken. That was a Sweet 16 game, and then they got beat in the Elite 8 by Christian Leitner's buzzer beater. So 2 consecutive buzzer beaters. They were on the good end of one and not the good end of the other, because they could have sent Jim Calhoun and company to the Final Four. But if I remember correctly, too, that's UConn throwing a long pass down the floor. George catches it in the corner, turns around, and hits the jumper. So, and that Clemson team, by the way, had Dale Davis and Eldon Campbell. So it's not like they were, stinky, because they had 2 people that later played in the pros for probably a good decade each.
Yeah, I think that was the Dick Stockton game.
Yep. And this is before, the announcers were – this is before when we knew who the announcers were. They've already got pairings out for the tournament now in the announcers. Back then we didn't kind of know that stuff as fans, and Scott and I are super big nerds about who's going to announce the game. So
yeah.
You're number 4.
Number 4, a team near and dear to my heart, sarcasm. 2019 regional final. This is, again, like my honorable mention, just the buzzer beater to send it to overtime, but kind of overlooked game in their run. UVA beats Purdue.
Yep.
A crazy play. Ty Jerome misses a free throw. They had to run and track the ball back in the backcourt. There was a really good pass to Mamadi Diakite, and he makes a shot. Not a long shot, but it was so frenetic and fast, and he caught it and threw it up so quickly. It definitely looked like they were going to lose. Pulled one out.
That was the Purdue team, if I'm not mistaken, that had Carson Edwards?
Yes. And
that was probably, if you want to ask me who the tournament is remembered for that year as an individual, Carson Edwards, I think, was those first, so that was Sweet 16, you said?
It was the regional final.
Okay, so Elite 8. I want to say that Sweet 16 Elite 8 game, Carson Edwards really had big games in both of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I want to say he had 35 in one of those games.
Yeah.
Big time scorer. And then, UVA obviously goes on. I think that was the start of 3 games in a row that were very improbable or down to the last minute wins.
Well, that first round game the next year was very improbable too.
Yes.
So anyway, that was when they lost to UMBC. And correct me if I'm wrong, UMBC was coached by
Ryan.
Ryan.
Before.
Oh, okay. You're right. I'm sorry.
Ryan
year before.
Odom,
And Ryan Odom, with reports out there, as we digress a little bit, maybe the next coach at UVA, from what I'm hearing.
Could be.
So anyway, number 3.
My number 3?
Yes.
So if I told you that there was a buzzer beater in the Final Four 2 years ago, would you guess what team it was? How many people you think would know?
Was it Gonzaga?
No.
Okay.
San Diego State.
Okay.
So this is, to me, why it's underrated. It's like 2 years ago, it was a buzzer beater. San Diego State was down 1 to Florida Atlantic. And Florida Atlantic had the ball with 10 seconds left and a 1-point lead.
Yep.
Missed a shot. San Diego State got the rebound, didn't take timeout, ran down court, hit a shot at the buzzer. Lamont Butler hit it. They win.
Now,
totally forgotten.
Dusty May at FAU?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and then they went on to lose to UConn. But that was one I did do a little research on. I was like, wait, this was 2 years ago, and I don't remember this at all. So I'm guessing that a lot of people don't. But how many buzzer beaters have they been in the Final Four in general? Not a lot. So
yeah. Well, an honorable mention to kind of rewind this a little bit, a buzzer beater that did not happen, but it would probably be up there with Lorenzo Charles if Gordon Hayward makes that half-court shot with Butler. I mean, we're going to remember. I'll be honest with you, Chris Jenkins, I get it. I mean, he hit the buzzer beater at one national championship. I think that's on the lower half, though, of, buzzer beaters that are remembered. It wasn't going to go in my top 5, but I still think, obviously, Lorenzo Charles is, I think, number 1. Leitner probably number 2 in beating Kentucky, because those are the two we see all the time. The time. So I had to do some research on my number 3 as well. Virginia native Scotty Reynolds with the buzzer beater over Pitt in the Elite Eight. Maybe a lot of people remember it, but it just slipped by me. So, and then the next year, that's when Villanova lost to St. Mary's after beating Robert Morris. Vernon wrapped round 1 and round 2, by the way. That's how I remember that. But, yeah, Villanova beats Pitt at the buzzer and then lost in the Final Four to UNC. I actually did do research on that one, but you may remember it. I don't. It doesn't stick out to me for some reason.
I do remember it. In fact, it's number 2 on my list.
Okay. Well, go ahead. You talked about it then, too.
Yeah, it was really good back then. I mean, this was back at the height of Jamie Dixon. They had some really good teams. And they were kind of like Villanova at the time, where they couldn't get that big win to get over the hump in the tournament. Mm-hmm. Both of those teams. And that came down to the wire. And it was kind of similar to the Bryce Stewart play, not in the same part of the floor, but the way that they threw the pass in and then he ran down and shot it. But I definitely remembered watching that one at the time and remembered it being Vernon Raft. So, yeah, that was one that really stuck out to me just for what it meant for Villanova, because it was really stood out among a lot of years of being not good in the tournament when they should have. And it really didn't turn their luck around that much until several years later.
And that was a Jay Wright coach Villanova team.
Yeah.
Now, if my number 2 is your number 1, it's going to be really weird. But my number 2 is Mike Miller's buzzer beater over Butler. It was in Winston-Salem. Oh, good. That makes me feel better. I want to say it was around I want to say it was because Florida went back-to-back 06, 07. I want to say Miller buzzer beater. Yeah, I want to say it was 99, 2000. Because that team had Miller, Teddy Dupay, Udonis Haslem. If Jason Williams, in his words, wouldn't have been smoking left-handed cigarettes, maybe he'd have been on that team. But that was the year before they were beaten by Gonzaga in the Sweet 16, which really captivated Gonzaga. But that was actually Florida and Butler was on Wake Forest home floor. It was a round 1 game. And, Florida was a 5 seed. We see a lot of upsets in that 5-12 game, but that's not one we were supposed to see. And Mike Miller, almost, if it wasn't for him, we'd have seen it. So, number 1, I'm interested. You want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Since you just did your couple. And this is a lot of product of childhood, and I've rooted for in my childhood. And was one that used to be shown a lot, and it's not as much anymore, I think, just because of time. And so that's why I would say it counts in the underrated department. But I was really hoping that if I just Googled holy mackerel that it would come up like as one of the top Google results, but apparently it's been too long.
I think I know now.
Yeah. I was a Georgia Tech fan.
Okay.
Second round against USC.
Yep.
I meant to go back and look and see how much time was left on the clock, but I feel like it was like 0.8 or something really ridiculously small.
Yeah.
They inbound the ball. James Forrest like almost heaves it sideways, like not a true shooting motion. From just beyond three, goes in. Al McGuire goes crazy. It was great. It was like half. It's like half buzzer beater, half reaction. You know.
Yeah.
Like
Well, James Forrest, I think, I'm not going to say he's one of the greatest Georgia Tech players of all time, but I think he's underrated because I think when you think about Georgia Tech, you think about all the point guards and you think about Malcolm Mackey, at least me for my era. Obviously, when you get later, you think of Chris Bosh and others, but
Stephon Marbury, yeah.
Yes. But James Forrest, I thought, was a really good player.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it did. Now, not to deviate the list here a little bit, but that might be one of Al McGuire's best calls. The other one I remember a lot is it's not a buzzer beater or anything, but Stanford and Rhode Island, the Mark Madsen.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I'm sure I've seen it, but
Madsen gets a steal. He dunks it and gets fouled, and Madsen gets into this, like, kind of what developed him, too, into not really the dancing, but YouTube it. It'll be worth your while. But, yeah, Al McGuire, I really don't think gets enough credit for how much he knows about basketball. Towards that part, I think that's when Al McGuire kind of became, I don't want to say a character, but I don't think he was as well respected for the basketball knowledge that he had. Now, my number one, and I want to see if you disagree with this, it was a late game on a Friday night, round one, and it's within the past decade. Shaka Smart was coaching Texas, and they were playing Northern Iowa. Paul Jefferson, Texas made a shot to go up, I believe, and Northern Iowa inbounds, or either to go up or tie it. And Northern Iowa inbounds it. Paul Jefferson from half court, and it goes. I mean, you know, you hate to see anybody NCAA tournament run end on a buzzer beater, but at the same time, it's so exciting for the fans and for the watchers. So that was my number. I mean, really, there's not a lot to say. I mean, I honestly think it's YouTubeable. I don't know if that's a word, but I think it's worth going back to see because even when you and I were watching, we kind of like, you know, dipped out around 10 or 11 on Friday night. And that was probably like a 12 o'clock, 12:30 shot, East Coast time.
And do you know where Paul Jefferson played before he went to Northern Iowa?
Virginia Tech?
No, UVA.
Well, you are a Hokies fan, so I figured it was going to be somehow tied. I guess it was tied in a way. But were any surprises on my list from you?
No, I do have a piece of trivia.
Oh, good.
That actually relates to what you said. So, I found an article that was like the longest buzzer beaters in March Madness history.
Okay.
Like just by length. And Northern Iowa actually has 2 of the 5 longest in history. One of them was way back in 1990, but then Jefferson was the number 1 longest one. I just thought that was funny. Like, who would have thought? Like, most people think Northern Iowa, they think Farouk Manesh and their big win against Kansas, but that wasn't a buzzer beater. These other 2, so interesting.
Wasn't it? And we love buzzer beaters and excitement of tournaments, especially I think round 1 and 2. It was Iowa, I think, playing Northwestern State.
Yeah, that was like a 3-14 game.
Yes, it was a Vern Raff game too.
Yep.
And I know how much we loved. We loved
three from the corner, I think.
Yep. But I'll be honest, not to get off the tangent here, but I do enjoy the Iron Eagle Grant Hill Raft team because Iron Eagle and Raft are there. And we all loved Uncle Vern, but I might be just as big of an Iron Eagle fan.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had some buzzer beaters this weekend. The Big Ten tournament.
Did you hear the line from the Big Ten tournament today about, I forget what they said, but Iron Eagle said something about a QR code. And then he said Raft is the only person that still prints out his boarding passes.
Yeah. I saw that quoted on Twitter, and yeah.
And the I don't know what the word is, but Raf's schedule is insane for anybody. And Raf's no young man. He's no youngster. And I mean, to keep up with that schedule.
No, they put out some good, I don't know if you've seen, I don't remember who put it out, maybe CBS, but there was a video circulating recently. I thought it was just like a 4-minute clip of onions.
Yes,
from different games.
Well, I mean, I know my favorite onions is, I believe it was Ronald Murray it was Siena and Ohio State.
Yeah, the double.
And I felt like that was the birth of onions.
I think it probably was.
So, but maybe next time we do a raft call or our favorite raft games or our favorite, because I don't know if you've noticed, the March Madness YouTube channel has started doing like Ian Eagle's best calls and Brian Anderson's best calls and so on and so forth. Have you really?
Harlan one?
Yes. And Kevin Harlan's probably, I think one of them is that UVA game with, help me.
Against Furman with Stan Van and Dan Bonner.
Yes. And now everybody, of course, has to have a video on them, too, so we can see their face when the big call is made. Have you scoured the bracket this year to where you have any strong thoughts?
No, I watched the reveal show. You know, I have to say that my college basketball interest has waned in the last few years, so I'm not as my initial thought is that I'm going to pick Auburn to win it all.
Right.
I just, Pearl got close before a few years ago, the year UVA won. I feel like they're kind of due. And the flag injury.
Right.
I don't 100% trust Duke. So we'll see. I usually feel like I'm going to pick a lot of upsets, and then I end up going more chalky. So we'll see.
Yeah. There was one upset that popped out at me, and I can't remember if it's the 6-11. Well, I don't know how much of an upset that is, but where Drake is matched with, I think, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And that just screams Drake.
Love the Drake.
I mean, I have a soft spot in my heart for the Missouri Valley Conference. And I think Drake is I hope they're still there. Maybe they're not, but the UVC just has a special spot in my heart. And Drake's head coach is also rumored to be the interest of the Big Ten has landed on him because Iowa and Indiana both have openings. Is your interest waned because you're older, because you have kids, because of the NIL, or because of portal?
Probably 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
Mostly the kids thing, but and just not having as much time.
I understand that.
But yeah, everybody changing teams every year makes it harder.
It's pro basketball junior now, to where I feel like March Madness is even, I don't want to say cheapened, but I don't know. Maybe that's for another discussion. But hey, I thought this was fun.
Yeah.
We'll come maybe for the Masters we'll come up with I don't know. I'll let you make the topic and I'll just have to research or talk to some golf friends.